how many RSVP'd?
I think we're about there. Yeah, this is a small. Normally, our meetings we have, 50 or more. This meeting is the most substantive portion of this particular meeting, which it's funny. I have no nervousness with public speaking whatsoever, but with this one, I'm a little nervous because I'm talking about, things having to do with the court and getting back in, you're getting back in the saddle, as a business. And the material that I reviewed is so friggin' voluminous that I'm like overwhelmed. You know what I mean? I've got a little outline.
Isn't it from 9 to 11?
It's from 9 to 11.
And it's 8. We are 1 hour ahead.
No, it's 8:57. Yeah, we started 3 minutes.
Yeah. Hey, do you know how to change your background? Do you want to change your background, Donnie?
Sure.
Okay, so 3 little dots in the middle.
Yeah.
It says show background effects.
Okay.
Click on that. And on the right, a bunch of different backgrounds pop up. So
cool.
I would recommend, since these are all the standard backgrounds, pick, like an office one or something, and it'll be a nice, because right now Carlos is in, so I can see you from Carlos's camera.
When we just, no, that is because that is my computer.
Yeah, are you gonna leave the camera on, Carlos?
No, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna be looking at the presentation. I turn my camera off.
Yeah, that's probably better. Yeah, good. So we can see you in the meeting because
the topic is somewhat COVID related. I feel like this background is very, COVID related. It's kind of like the picture.
What if we just blur the background?
Well, okay, yeah.
Can we blur the background?
What's this? No. Oh, what happened? I can't hear you.
I just installed a new camera, and I didn't have time to do a driver update, so right now I'm losing your video. So are you there?
Yeah.
Your video is not working right now.
All right.
There we go. Gotcha.
That is good.
Yeah. So anyway, don't panic. If I drop and everybody else will stay connected, I'll just pop right back in. And I'm going to tell everybody and warn everybody that could happen. It's just because I was playing with a new camera. So.
Okay. All right.
So what if we just blur his background? Isn't it going to be just better?
It's a personal preference, like I have a company profile one that I use. Blur works, but whatever you feel like,
There is no blur. Because in this version it's different. Normally it just says blur background, but right here it says.
Yeah, so there's some new features. There's some new features that Microsoft have come out with. I'm going to talk about those in my presentation a little bit as well, because you're actually going to be able to customize them.
So it doesn't confuse.
This one?
Yeah. No.
I think the better ones are the professional ones are a little bit better, like the office backgrounds. If you want to be a little more relaxed, since it's a Saturday, you could do the beach setting or something. But.
Yeah.
But the old background is good because it's just brown. Look,
I'll do it from the beach.
There you go. I like it.
Can you see that?
Oh, so we got somebody in.
Okay, we need to admit everyone. Okay, so we need to go back to admit everyone. Should I just close the background setting? So how we go to admit everyone?
Well, it's a go to the, I saw it. Go to the 31. Click on the 31.
Okay.
At all.
Okay, because we are.
All right, so you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, all right. And then when I admit everybody is my hold on a second. All right, so I need to start at the beginning. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh. Okay, good morning, everyone. If everyone right now could mute your, click the mute button on your screen so we can get started, that would be great. Okay. All right, good morning. Hopefully everybody can see and hear me. Welcome to the AAIP May 16th webinar entitled Back in the Saddle. And there's more people still getting admitted, so let's see. Okay, if everybody could please mute your.
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah.
If you click on the participant list, which is right next to yeah, and then at the very top there it says mute all, and it'll mute everybody but you. It will mute me too.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you very much. All right. And welcome to the May 2020 webinar, Back in the Saddle. Issues in reopening the Arizona Association of Independent Paralegals, or I should say AZCLDP businesses after the COVID-19 shutdown. So before we get started and into the webinar, there's a couple things that I want to go over, some housekeeping. First of all, you know, as you're aware, one of the ways that we verify, or the way that we verify that you're in attendance at the seminar, is that throughout the seminar, I'm going to hold up 2 different words at different times during the seminar. And the first time will probably be in about a half hour to an hour, and the second time towards the very end. And after the seminar is over, I ask that you email me these words, just like was in the instructions that I sent you with the link. And in response, I'll send you a certificate of completion. So now, one of the presenters today is Joe Lamania, and Joe's going to talk to us about incorporating Teams into our business, our video conferencing. And Joe's going to chime in a little bit later, but I'm going to ask him to come in right now to give everybody a little information about how to participate in the webinar. Joe, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. So I am waving at you just in case. There's only usually about 4 videos that are showing at a time. Let me let these other 2 people that are in the lobby. Just a little housekeeping. I don't know how many people are familiar with using Teams. Certainly a lot from a consumer standpoint are used to using Zoom. And this is a very different experience. So I'm going to kind of walk you through it in a little bit more detail later. But what I wanted to point out to you just real briefly is that if you look in the middle of your screen, you'll see there's a red dot that shows that Don is recording the meeting. There's the ability to turn your camera on and off. It's a little camera icon. There is a mute or microphone, which is the ability to mute and unmute yourself. Next to that is an option to share documents, which I don't think anybody's going to need to do. There is 3 little dots in the middle that provide some additional feature functions. And the only other feature that we really want you to know, the 2 features, I should say, is raising your hand. That's the little hand icon. If you click that, we'll know that you have a question. And then next to that is the list of participants. So if you want to see who your peers are or who's participating in the meeting, you click on that little people list and it'll show everybody's name or whatever they entered when they join the meeting. The last button, don't click it, is the red hang up and disconnect button. So that gives you just a quick orientation of how to navigate, ask questions. For the most part, I think it's going to be Don and I just sharing information. We do want you to ask questions, and to do that, since we have muted everybody, just either unmute yourself or raise your hand and we'll let you in. Either way. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Joey. Okay. So, and just to kind of add on to that, despite the fact that I have a very novice experience with running webinars, this will be our third one. I want to encourage people to please provide whatever input or insight or maybe stories that they have about the topics that we're going over today. And so the agenda for today is that we're going to talk about establishing safety guidelines, getting your business ready for COVID-19, and we're going to talk about why you want to do that. I'm going to give you a lot of resources that you can go to see how to plan, manage, get set up for those things, and I'll try to do that in a way. Whoops, we've got. Excuse me, I don't know what happened here. Give me just a second. We've got somebody's taken over our webinar, I think.
It's because it's just started.
Okay, hold on just a second.
I took it back control. Somebody clicked on share or something.
Okay.
So do you see your, all you have to do is reshare again.
Browse. Okay.
Which is the up arrow.
Okay. All right. Replace. Okay. Let's try this again.
We didn't put all the admin features in, so here you go.
Okay. All right. As I was saying, and by the way, I don't know if anybody noticed, I've got the beach background kind of in support of those wannabe or current beachgoers around the nation that want to do what they want to do, not only in wet sand but in dry sand as well. If you follow the news, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so we're going to talk about establishing safety guidelines, getting your business ready for COVID-19. We're going to talk about what's going on with the court systems, and I may not touch on every court around the state, but most of the the situations, what they're doing, what their plans are pretty much the same. It comes down for the most part on high from the Arizona State Supreme Court. And we're also talking about dealing with the recorder, the Secretary of State during the COVID-19 pandemic. And finally, and actually not finally, but we'll get into this probably about an hour as kind of a break between the somewhat dry material that I'll be going over. Joey will come in and give us a presentation about why you want to and how you may incorporate video conferencing into your business. So let's start into getting your business ready for COVID. So now I don't need to tell anybody that this is a serious situation, but I'm going to go through some facts and details that probably all of you have heard over and over again, but it warrants going through again right now. So just some facts. According to the World Health Organization, COVID spreads when somebody with COVID-19 coughs or exhales. They release droplets of infected fluid. The droplets fall on nearby surfaces and objects like desks, tables, telephones. COVID-19 also spreads when people touch contaminated objects. They touch their eyes, their nose, their mouth. I don't know if you're like me. I'm constantly freaked out about those kind of things, like especially driving through ATM machines and touching the screens, and then realize that I scratched my head or, God forbid, touch my eyes. But anyways, that's how people contaminate themselves. People are standing within a meter of someone with COVID can catch it through the air. A little summary of the COVID-19 situation in Arizona as of yesterday. We have in Arizona 13,169 documented cases. There have been 651 deaths. I know there's some dispute or a debate about, attributing deaths to COVID. Maybe wasn't the primary cause of death, but people just happen to also have COVID. But this is what our government is posting as far as the number of deaths. To date, testing has been more and more of an issue, and to date in Arizona, there have been 186,904 tests of COVID-19. I know the governor has a program going right now, and I think it's going on Saturdays, where they're pushing people to register and go to certain locations around the state if they want to become tested. There's also more and more opportunities to be tested for what's the word I'm trying to think of, to see if you've already had it. Number of new cases reported yesterday were 495. Number of deaths reported yesterday, yesterday is 27. And if you look at all the data, the rate of cases per 100,000 population is 183.2. Rate of fatalities per 100,000, that data wasn't available, I'm not able to. The total percent positive is 6.2%. So again, these numbers, from what I understand, are not necessarily accurate because not everybody's been tested. I don't know if I'm sure there's a way that the government will eventually figure out what percent of the population has it and what the death rate really is. But these are the numbers that the government is giving us today. So where do we look for guidance on what to do with our business in a COVID-19 world? So one place to start that I would encourage you to start, and by the way, I'm going to be sending you, I'll send all of you at the end of the webinar a whole slew of information that I have downloaded. I'll tell you, in preparing for this little 2-hour presentation, while many of you have sat in on presentations I've given in the past, and I have no problem doing so, I've been a little overwhelmed with the volume of information. It's difficult to some extent to know where to start and what information is relevant. But one place to look to start is, of course, it kind of all started with executive orders from Governor Ducey. You can go on the governor's website and see the various executive orders related to COVID-19, including the most recent order, which is Executive Order 2020-36. That order provides in part that any business, whether for-profit or nonprofit, institution, profession, or entity that physically operates in this state, serves the public, or as an employer, shall develop, this is the key part, shall develop, establish, and implement policies based on guidance from the CDC, Department of Labor, OSHA, and ADHS, Arizona Department of Health, to limit and mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus, including the following actions. So, in other words, we're expected as Arizona businesses to develop a plan that deals with these things, including promoting healthy hygiene practices, intensifying cleaning, disinfecting, and ventilation practices, monitoring for sickness, ensuring and monitoring for sickness with yourself and your employees, with people that come into your establishment, ensuring physical distancing, providing necessary protective equipment, so gloves, masks, depending on the circumstances, allowing for and encouraging teleworking where feasible, providing plans where possible to return to work in phases, and that, that's more applicable to, I think, larger businesses, and then limiting the congregation of groups of no more than 10 persons were feasible in relation to the size of the location. I'm going to go back to that. So, bear with me for a minute. So now this stuff is to some extent kind of a no-brainer, you know, and I hesitate even going over some of these things that I'm going to go over because you know what to do. You do know what to do. But it's important for you to know that pursuant to this executive order, you are, as a business owner, as you know, responsible to deal with these things, make plans, and ensure that these issues are considered. Okay, well, somebody's moving my stuff. Let's see. Okay, so other places to look for guidance in doing business in a COVID world. Arizona Department of Health Services, there's the website, the WHO, Centers for Disease Control. Keep on losing, I think somebody's taking control. Of what's that? Okay.
They shouldn't.
Okay. So, all right. So, OSHA is another. So these are all the websites you go to. They, again, these entities have voluminous amounts of documents that tell you or give you advice on preparing, planning, what type of sanitizers might be best, what type of cleaning products to use, what type of policies you may want to employ if you have multiple employees on making sure that they're safe. So I encourage you to go and look at these various websites for applicable things. Again, I'm going to send you some material that I felt was relevant from really each of these organizations. So what are some easy ways to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in your businesses? And when again, I want to say that I know that people, I don't want to insult people's intelligence. I know that you know what to do. These things are kind of no-brainer things, but I think it's prudent that we go through some of these things. So make sure your workplace is clean. Now that would include surfaces, desks, tables, objects, telephones, keyboards, pens. They all need to be wiped with disinfectant regularly. I was explaining to one of my kids at one point about he was just curious, how often, what's prudent? Well, how often do you have to clean? How often do you make sure you do this thing? And it made me think about issues even before COVID-19 that your typical grocery store deals with. I don't know if any of you have been involved with slip and fall lawsuits, but one of the things is that most stores, grocery stores will have is they'll have little cards where they record how often and when they send somebody around to check for things, banana peel on the floor or what other things on the floor, wet spots on the floor, and they're acting reasonably under circumstances, trying to protect people from slipping and falling or hurting themselves or just a display. Maybe a policy probably every time you meet with. I was at a pizza place. Actually, I've done a couple times over this downtime over the last couple months, and gained quite a bit of weight. I'll admit from eating all the pizza that I have. But anyways, I was at this pizza place, and one of the things that they do is they have a little cup of clean pens, and they have a cup to throw the dirty pens. And I imagine in between times they clean those and rotate them. Arrange your office to promote social distancing. Rearrange or add desks to create an appropriate distance from clients. Use plexiglass barriers. redirect traffic patterns in the office. I'm sure we've all been the grocery stores and the Circle K and just about every place else you go. Restaurants that have takeout service, everywhere you go, they have traffic patterns that they use so people don't bump into each other. So everybody's going in one direction, so people know how far to stand from one another. All in efforts to to promote social distancing. I've been impressed with, I've been to some of your offices, and I've been impressed about how quickly I've seen people do things like get plexiglass barriers in some of your offices, as well as just out there generally in the business community, how people are really taking this serious. I wanted to ask, do any of you? I'd like to hear back from some of you. If any of you, raise your hand and tell us if you have any. If you'd like to share what you're doing in your business, whether you have an office, a home office where you meet people, or an office just around town, or a storefront location. What is everybody doing to address these things? Oh, somebody's taking control of my computer again. Let's see. I spoke the other day with Suzette Brown. I was wondering if she's here, if she would like to turn on her unmute her mic and hear what she's doing in her business. Suzette, are you there?
I am. Can you hear?
I can hear you great. Yeah, please tell us what you've been doing.
Okay, so what I've been doing with my clients is when I get a call from them, I give them the option to meet with me if they feel comfortable doing that. I'm actually do all of my document preparation in my home office, but I do have an executive suite locations in 2 different parts of the valley that I can meet clients at, and they've been really outstanding in keeping areas available for me to meet with clients and do the social distancing that's required. But if a client isn't willing to or feeling uncomfortable to meet with me, I actually have offered to them to use FaceTime if they have an iPhone, or Skype if they have Skype, or actually the one that I've used the most is the Zoom application. So that's actually worked really well for me, and gives me the opportunity for them to see me and then for me to see them. And it's worked out quite well. So I probably will keep it in my business even after the COVID issues have been taken care of, and it's made it really quite easy for me.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Suzette. Anyone else want to share what they're doing in their business? What they've seen, anything unusual, or? No? All right. Well, if anybody'd like to share more,
if you have questions, or you can either raise your hand. If you just roll your mouse on the middle of your screen, you'll see a little pop-up, and there's a place for you to raise a hand or unmute your mic or turn on your camera.
Okay. Oh, we have somebody else raising their hand. Let's see.
Valerie?
Turn on your mic and share with us. Okay. Valerie, are you there? Okay. All right. Well, Valerie, if you want to share, just raise your hand again, and I'm happy to try to bring you in at that point. I'm not sure what happened there, but let's see. Bear with me for a second. We're having a little issue with me seeing my my PowerPoint presentation. Mhm. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to share this thing again. Okay,
There you go.
there we go. Getting through this, and thanks for bearing with me, everybody. Okay, so we were talking about hygiene, arranging social distancing, rearranging your desks to create appropriate distances from clients using plexiglass, traffic patterns, and so now let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so other issues. I'm just getting caught up here. Okay, yeah, promoting regular and thorough hand washing by employees, contractors, customers that come in, putting sanitizing hand rub dispensers in prominent places around the office so people can use them. Fortunately, now I think you can get the the hand sanitizers. I know for a while they were almost impossible to come by, along with toilet paper. Displaying posters promoting hand washing. Promoting good respiratory hygiene in workplaces. Basically, it's referring to wearing masks, establishing pre-appointment practices with clients. Anybody doing this? This is something that maybe that people haven't thought a whole lot about. I had a dentist appointment on Thursday, and somebody from the dentist office called me a couple days before that and had a series of questions that they went through with me, basically asking me about whether I've had a fever, whether I've recently had shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, whether I've had a dry cough, chills, whether I've had muscle pain, headaches, sore throat, a loss of taste or smell. So they kind of went through all the standard indicators that that someone might be suffering from a COVID-related issue. But it didn't stop there. So they went through this with me. I verified I didn't have any of the symptoms. Then on the date that I went to the appointment, they had a little place outside of the office in the hallway that they had set up for me to wait, and they had a consent form that I had to go through that went through a lot of the same things and gave information about a lot of disclosure information about basically telling me that there's no way they can control whether somebody has whether the virus might be in there when I go in for a dental procedure, and basically it was probably a standard thing that a lot of people that go into surgery sign, except it was geared towards COVID. So it was very, very interesting. I am curious to well, let's see. So, and then when I got there, this picture isn't the best, but this was a poster that they have. And as you can see, so this practice is taking a proactive approach to COVID-19 virus by asking patients to let us know the following, and it goes through all those things that I kind of went through. Have you traveled internationally in the last 30 days? Have you been in the presence with someone with a confirmed case of COVID-19? Have you been in the presence of someone who's been or is being quarantined for COVID-19? Have you had any symptoms? On and on, and basically in a nice way, if you have any of this thing, please turn around and leave. I guess it's understandable. Now, one thing that after going to the dentist and seeing this disclosure/consent form that they were using, I was curious what else was out there, and I did a little Google search on the topic about liability releases. And I found quite a few of them out there. What I have up on the screen now is just an example of something that some professionals are using. I think this one was being this was kind of a template that's being used by some photographers. But I think it's, the issues are kind of applicable to any service-based business that are dealing with the public. And you can see it's just it's entitled COVID liability release waiver for your client or for clients, and it goes through some of the things that I just mentioned that I went through at the dentist, and it asks them to agree, understand, and they're basically saying they don't have any of this stuff going on. So this is to protect you, your employees, and really the client to some extent. But I thought this was interesting. This is something you may want to adopt in your practice. I think it is prudent, and it kind of shows that you're taking the situation seriously, especially, let's face it, a lot of us, probably a lot of people that are attending this webinar do provide services for a population that is particularly at risk. In fact, a lot of us as document preparers are probably in that classification. Over 60, maybe have underlying conditions. So, it's prudent and certainly understandable that we want to protect ourselves, we want to protect our clients, we want to protect our employees from contracting this terrible disease. And so this is one thing that people may want to consider doing, having some kind of liability waiver for clients. If anything, it kind of gets things out in the open. So people think about what they're doing before they come into your office or before they hire you. Also, for those of you that maybe go out to clients' homes to meet with them, especially if they're elderly. These are some key parts. These are kind of hard to read, but these are some key parts of that dental consent form that I was telling you about, where they have different places where I had to initial and then I had to sign below. But I think this is probably very smart of people to do. And if anything, even if you're not comfortable with having people sign this, it might be wise to have things like this posted at your office, or maybe even part of an email disclosure that you send out to people that are thinking about coming in. So this takes me to another topic that's relevant for us and for really anybody that is starting to do business again, and that's the criminal liability or administrative liability issues that many of us, and really anybody that's serving the public, may be facing. At the forefront of the liability concerns are lawsuits alleging the negligence of the business caused customers or employees to get the coronavirus. And so that goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. This is why we want to take this seriously. This is why we want to have these liability releases. This is why we document a policy of how often that we clean things and maybe promote that. I've actually also seen many businesses. Usually they're larger businesses, but in this day and age, it's not really an issue for small mom and pop businesses to do the same kind of thing, where they've made little videos that posted on their website. Just, this is what we're doing. This is what we do to protect you when you come into our offices, and protect ourselves and our employees. One of my sons works for a small hotel. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Magic Castle Hotel in Hollywood. They made a little video just kind of picturing them, exactly what their procedure is to protect people that are coming to the stay at their hotel. Of course, they made that just before everything shut down. But it's something that everybody may want to consider doing, just so the public feels more comfortable with what's going on. So, I have on here, the duty breach causation damages. So, these are, if for those of you who have ever practiced tort law or been involved with insurance related cases, or maybe even had your own accident, there's no difference here when you're considering you know, am I as a business owner, you know, exposing myself? You know, what duty do I have to the public to protect them from contracting the coronavirus? You know, what's the standard of care? What would a reasonable person do under the circumstances? You know, what does it look like if I'm breaching that duty? You know, if somebody calls me and says, yeah, I have the coronavirus, I think I got it from your office, you know, these different factors are what you might want to consider. Now, the damages issue, you know, even if somebody gets coronavirus because they came to your office, you know, if they were, you know, they were asymptomatic, or, you know, hopefully you know, their symptoms were minimal. I don't know how much liability is there, but these are all things that you may want to think about. I'd be curious, and this is something I did not have an opportunity out there, are also insurance agents that have business insurance experience or have talked to their insurance agent about these issues, what you're being told about coverage if something like this were to come up. So if anybody has any information about that, please raise your hand and share with the rest of us. On the screen, I also have administrative, criminal, you know, liability related issues. And then I have a notation about stitch lines. You know, around the country, I think it's backfired in some places, but the reality is there are many places around the country, and Maricopa County included, that where the government are soliciting people to call in and kind of tell on people. And, you know, I'm not going to make a judgment whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But it's something that you should think about, that, you know, if your neighbor who runs a whatever kind of business, maybe kind of watching what you're doing. And if they see your waiting room that has people crowded in there sitting right next to each other, you know, these are things that can, you know, if it's not a liability from violating a local ordinance or a statute or whatever's in place, it's still it's bad business, bad publicity, that you should look out for. You know, we've probably all heard a lot of examples of related issues. I saw one on the news recently, the Euro Pizza Kitchen up at Fountain Hills, and what this business owner has dealt with Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. Again, I'm going off of what I see in the media, but it appears that her neighbors were kind of calling about her, just saying that people that came and picked up pizzas were then hanging out in the area, sitting at chairs that are right outside her establishment. I think on the news I saw that she was visited by, she claims to be visited by the sheriff's office 20 some odd times, and that it seems like people were monitoring what was going on her Facebook. So anyways, this could be a real hassle for you as a business owner if you're not paying attention to what's going on. And I'm sure, you know, there may be some people participating in this webinar. Certainly there are a large segment of the population that thinks that some of these rules are just ridiculous, and the way the government is overbearing, and what they're doing, violating constitutional rights. And again, I'm not going to make a comment or judgment on any of those things, but regardless, it's just bad business. And so, to some extent, you want to protect yourself against these things. Now, so the next topic, we're gonna get into doing business with the court, but I think at this point I want to bring Joe Lamania in. Joe, it's time for your part of the presentation if you're available. Would you like to get started?
Sure.
Okay, so this kind of goes along with what you can do in your business to protect from COVID. I mean, protecting yourself is using technology, and I know I've spoken with many people that have transitioned into trying to meet people with more with utilizing technology, with video conferencing, And I think it's a great way to go, but it has its special challenges, especially with the populations that many of us deal with, being an older population, maybe not real used to or feeling competent to use technology. But Joe's going to speak about some of those issues and how you can maybe take a step towards utilizing that technology. Take it away, Joe.
All right, in just a second here, I'm going to take control and start sharing my screen out here. All right, here we go. Minimize you and get started. So, hello everyone. Again, what I've known Don, and you'll hear him call me Joey, and I'll call him Donnie, but we go quite a ways back, all the way to high school, so we've known each other. And when he called, he knew that I worked for a technology company and asked if I knew a little bit about video conferencing. And I said, yeah, I know a fair amount, enough to be dangerous about Microsoft Teams. So I wanted to kind of talk about it because it's really more than just video conferencing. So again, just a quick introduction. Joe Lamontia. I'm a native of Arizona. I work for a company called Magenium Solutions, and we're a Gold Microsoft partner. I've been working with Magenium for 7 years now. Prior to that, I was a product manager for a credit card company. So I've kind of always had a little bit of play in technology. The agenda, just a quick overview of who my company is, talk a little bit about the Microsoft modern workplace and its capabilities, which incorporates Teams. And so then I'm going to jump right into the overview of Teams itself. A bit about Magenium. About 3 years ago, we sold to a company called AVI Systems. They've been in business for about 45 years. A global company. They're an audio-visual integrator, about 700 employees, and their corporate office is in Minnesota. Magenium, we've been around since 2007. We have been recognized as one of the better places to work, and we have quite a few Microsoft Gold competencies, which puts us in the top 1% of partners. This is our empty office because nobody is there. So these are just some pictures. Again, we're headquartered in the Chicagoland area. Our office is also considered a Microsoft Experience Center. So Microsoft and or their customers can come in and
Okay, I'm sure Joe will be right back. I'm not sure what happened. Whatever happened, I'm sure it's my fault.
Now you're in. Yeah.
Appreciate your patience. I'm sure he'll be right back. Okay, well, until we get Joe back, let's see.
Sure.
Oh, I just see Joe.
Sorry, Don, I just realized that I got disconnected here.
Yeah, sorry, you've been gone for just a couple minutes. Go ahead and take over again. Sorry about that.
Yeah, all right.
I took responsibility. I said, whatever happened, I'm sure it was my fault.
So I don't know quite where I got dropped off, but I wasn't paying attention to my screen. But
You've been gone for about 3 or 4 minutes.
oh, did I get through any of these slides about who we are? Did we touch base on any of this part here?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, just a little bit about, you know, there's our client list. We've got local clients here in town, Odyssey, Grand Canyon University. We are a gold partner with Microsoft, and what that means is that we've got a number of certifications. We encourage our employees to pursue the formal certification process that Microsoft puts out there for partners. And it's an ongoing internal competition among our employees to continue their certifications. Just at a real high level, our offering, we're basically an IT consultant. We kind of work up and down the Microsoft stack, specifically with Office 365, which has now been renamed to Microsoft 365. Part of that is Microsoft Teams, Teams Rooms, the Windows deployment as an operating system, Azure, Cloud, Dynamics, which is a CRM. We do a lot with security and compliance. One of my clients is in the election space. They do voter registration software. Then we also do have some digital marketing, and we have a very active practice in custom application development. That's everything from websites to reputation management. Supporting the deployment of various services or hardware, we have a managed service offering. And then we actually have a couple of products that have come out of our business. One is Microsoft Team Room Systems, DX Notify, which is a digital signage, Gather Note, and election management. So those are just a little bit of background there. The other part of our business, I think, is important for people to recognize is the Microsoft 365. We do quite a bit of deployments and migrations. Part of Microsoft 365 includes SharePoint deployments, Power BI, Windows 10, Microsoft 365 Fast Track program, helping customers get onboarded with the various Microsoft products very quickly. Kind of moving through here in a different format just so I can see where we're at. Unified communications, that includes Teams. It also includes Team Rooms. And then we have Windows deployment, so helping customers with upgrading their operating system to Windows 10. You'd be surprised of how many enterprises, even small businesses, are still working off of Windows 8 or Windows 7 even. So we do quite a bit in terms of application solutions. Microsoft's cloud is called Azure, however you want to pronounce it. And there's a number of different services that we do in that regard. We also do CRM, customer relationship management. There's an entire suite of products associated with that. Mobility and security is another huge thing these days, especially security. And with all of you in the legal and financial services field, it's definitely something that you guys should be looking at in your own business. Digital marketing, we do website development, search engine optimization. These are things that you might have heard. Online presence and reputation management, and then digital signage. In fact, the aquarium, Odyssey Aquarium out here in Scottsdale, they're using our digital signage platform for the various monitors that are in front of a lot of the different exhibits. And then we wrap all the things that we deploy in with managed services, whether they're supporting cloud services or desktops or servers or applications, they're all kind of wrapped together. What makes us unique is we are what's called a CSP, or a cloud solution provider with Microsoft. We're a tier 1 provider. And what that means is that we can not only resell licenses, but we are your end-to-end partner in sales, service, support of the products that we specialize in, which is the cloud, Dynamics 365, Microsoft 365 Teams, the mobility suites, and Windows 10. We're going to now kind of get into the meat of things and why you're really kind of more interested about what's going on with these tools. One of the things I found interesting before, there were some statistics about meetings before COVID-19, and on average, employees had 10 meetings per week. Gen Xers had 10.8. 60% of those people were unsatisfied with their meetings, and I'm going to keep an eye on everybody, because just making sure everybody can hear me still.
Yes.
Good. Just checking in. Thanks, Donnie. 60% of the people are always unsatisfied with the meetings, and 57% think they're unproductive. Meetings typically fall into 5 different types. There's status, there's collaboration, sharing, there's customer meetings, and there's more formal presentations. 44% of the meetings are in person. That number has significantly changed, but these are numbers prior to COVID. And 33% were virtual. So now we're probably about 99% virtual with the various tools that are out there. So Outlook still remains one of the number 1 tools for scheduling meetings and calendaring and email. For in-person meetings, 68% are bringing laptops, and all the way down to 73% are bringing pen and paper to meetings. So those are some interesting statistics, I think, prior to. Now, after COVID, the pandemic, as we know, has changed everything. The world's kind of slowed to almost a near halt, and people are sheltering in place and quarantining themselves. And so technology has really become quite a significant tool in flattening the curve, rebooting society, and getting us back to work. With that, said, I wanted to just talk about, share a little video real quick. And let me see if I can pull that up here just a second here.
We are running our COVID-19 technology response on Teams.
Teams has given us the possibility to continue to innovate.
Again, I'm sure this is all my fault, but I'm sure he'll be able to get in. I'm not sure if what the issue, but if we lost him, we will continue I'm sure he'll be back in a second.
We should call him.
Here he is. Joey, we can't hear you yet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well,
Coming back to the PowerPoint. Hold on just a second here.
okay.
We are running our COVID-19 technology response on Teams.
Teams has given us the possibility to continue to innovate,
to continue business and to react and to decide action.
Bringing up video visits and accomplishing 14,000 visits in a matter of a few weeks.
L'Oréal since Thursday has decided to convert its facilities to produce hand sanitizer.
I can bring them in. I can actually share my screen and show the x-rays.
Completely agree, this is going to be a game changer for medicine.
The university is not only teaching, is research, is building up projects, is creating culture.
We care about keeping London safe, keeping the police service going. We're living on Teams. It's as simple as that.
So just a quick motivation of what's happened. We all know. Just a little bit about what Teams is, and I'm going to share another quick video here.
Microsoft Teams is a hub for teamwork. It's an app that helps you pull together a team and work together using chat instead of email, and channels instead of just file folders. It's a workspace where you and your team can securely edit files at the same time and see likes, at mentions, and replies with just a single tap. It's a place that your team can make its own by adding notes, websites, and apps. And because it's in the cloud, it lets everyone work together, no matter where they are. It's a solution that understands that having fun doesn't just make you and your team more productive. It makes you all more creative. Learn how to use Microsoft Teams to connect and create in brand new ways at office.com/training.
So some of the interesting numbers about Teams at this point, Microsoft has passed 75 million daily active users. 2/3 of those people are sharing, collaborating, and interacting with files. So it's much more than just video conferencing. It's up 70% in just the 6 weeks since June. Since March. And then there's 200 million meeting participants was in a single day in April, which was about 4.1 billion meeting minutes. There's just a tremendous number of online meetings taking place. In fact, it's becoming the new norm. Jack Dorsey basically sent an email out to his employees and said, hey, when this pandemic is cleared, you guys can still continue to work from home if you want. Just a quick look at how the world has transitioned to remote working and learning in just a very short period of time since March 12th. You can kind of see the number of licenses and how technology by the various countries has been impacted. And really what I wanted you to see is how these graph lines are just exponentially going up significantly in a very short period of time based on the number of people that are using it. I think one of the most telling statements here was Teams is not just about having lots and lots of video meetings. Teams is really about getting work done where meeting and videos is just one part. And this is the CEO of Microsoft. speaking, he basically said, it's an example of a utility that's only going to increase for our customers as customers come back to work. So they're betting on some long range growth there. This is where I'm going to kind of get into the bulk of what Teams can do. It is really a hub in Microsoft 365 for 4 pillars that Microsoft has. One is communicating through chat, meetings, and calls. There's also collaborating and the customized and extending with third-party apps and processes. And there's also a significant amount of security built in, which is extremely important. I think one of the questions that somebody asked me is, why would I want the business version versus the consumer version if it's just myself and one other person in my office? And it's really, there's a number of different benefits, several key benefits. One is you're in the legal space. That alone gives you certain security parameters and controls that you can take advantage of from Microsoft 365. And also, just from an email and calendaring standpoint, you can get your own domain name. So it'd be like your first name dot last name at whatever your company name is .com. It just lends a much more professional appearance to your business, a much more larger appearance than, say, a Gmail or an AOL email. I'm going to take you on a little quick guided tour of just some specific areas within Teams. Just want to do a quick checkpoint and make sure I still have everybody.
I believe so. Okay,
good. Apologize for those glitches earlier. I just don't know what. So within the Microsoft 365 platform, there is productivity and business processes and ways to protect your business. From just a pure productivity, and I'm not going to go into all of these, but there's the Microsoft Office apps, and you have Excel, Word, PowerPoint, OneNote, and there's a bunch of features and templates. So that's a real key part of the bundled services. You can access Teams across any device, on mobiles, on tablets, and just about any browser as well. It also comes with storage. So if you're used to having a Dropbox or some other type of storage, you don't really need it with Microsoft 365 because you have OneDrive. They'll sync up, and whether you've changed something on your phone or on your laptop, and you can collaborate in real time with all of these products. One of the differences and one of the significant benefits of Teams over some of the other consumer-oriented is, you have the business class email, you have shared mailboxes, you have shared calendars. There's the ability to keep track of mistakes. So you're working in a document, you can go back and check the version history. And you can connect your personal calendar as well to your business as well. I'm going to drill a little bit deeper here in the Teams Hub, because that's, and when we're talking about Teams, we're talking about chat, meeting, collaborating. So if you're looking at your screen on the far left, there's a number of different icons. Teams is one of the most important, and within each of those teams that you can create, you could have a team for every client or for every project. Within each team, you also have the ability to chat with other people inside or outside of your organizations. And then you can also meet anytime using meetings. There's a number of ways to just launch into a meeting straight from your calendar, straight from Teams, straight from a number of different avenues within the Microsoft 365 application You can host events, and whether they're live events, which I have to admit, I don't do those. We have a marketing office that does our live events. I just tend to do live meetings, or excuse me, scheduled meetings off of my calendar. So there's also a lot of different applications that you can integrate within Teams that add additional productivity for everything from like mileage tracking to apps that let people see your calendar and select the best time for them. So then, more on the administrative side, there's a lot of different tools. You have the ability for customer appointments, task management, mileage tracking, and setup management. An important part for all of you guys is protecting your business, and what that looks like is threat protection. Excuse me, touching my screen here. And within threat protection, you can defend against malicious emails and phishing attempts. You can protect your data on your mobile phone as well. If you lose it, you can wipe all the data off your mobile phone. And then you can control who has access to what types of information within your company, including what they can access. You lose a device, an iPad, a laptop, or a cell phone, you can also wipe that data as well. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what the capabilities are around just the Microsoft 365 application and Teams. There's a whole lot of feature functions. Some of the things that are already available in Teams today is you can get a translation from any language within a message. You can record a meeting. I believe Donnie might have been recording this meeting. You have the mobile companion mode where you can use your cell phone as well. And then you can change your background, blur your background, or add one of the other backgrounds. Coming to Teams soon. So there's a lot of push to develop these products fairly quickly and advance some of the feature functions. One of the things that people didn't like was that you could only see 4 people at a time. They're going to increase that to 9. That might not seem like a lot, but when you're presenting or in a online meeting, it can be a bit of a distraction to have 51 or however many people we have on this meeting actually sharing their video. You can raise hands, which that feature function has already been rolled out. The background effects has already been rolled out, but it's also being rolled out for Apple users, iOS users. And then you can end the meeting for everybody, and you're also going to be able to view meetings and calls in separate windows. There's a site that I'm just going to pull up really quick where there's a ton of training videos. So if you do decide that Microsoft Teams is the product that you're going to use, or maybe you're using it today, there's a whole host of different training videos that are really short and sweet, and you have quick starts and introductions to Teams, managing your feed, getting started. There is a free version of Teams as well, so quite a few different options available to you. I'm almost done here. There's, I think, 2 more slides. Just a quick comment about the Microsoft Teams devices. We've already touched on mobile and personal computers, but you can also get desk phones and peripherals for personal use. There's also all-in-one collaboration devices like large interactive screens, and then room systems. We call them Microsoft Room Systems, MRSs, and it's basically a little computer that sits in the middle of a conference desk and allows you to control the team meeting just like you would off a laptop. Just a couple of other pictures of showing some of what I just commented on. These are our office in Chicago, where you've got large screen TVs, people working off their laptops and looking at the content. You've got on-desk controllers, and then you've got actually the bottom left-hand corner is a schedule device outside a conference room, so you can see what conference rooms are booked by whom, and then just a number of different configurations. That is all I had. I apologize for some of those technical glitches earlier on. I don't know what happened there, but you know.
Well, I imagine that the biggest issue with dealing with any of these video conference programs is the and I imagine that has a lot to do with your maybe the Wi-Fi that you use, or not just you, but I mean anybody.
Right. Yeah, and the bandwidth, what kind of bandwidth you have coming from your ISP. You know, especially when you're running a lot of video or have a number of other devices. Maybe you're working from home and somebody else is streaming video on a couple of different devices. That all eats up your bandwidth and can affect your performance as well. So, you know, as people start working from home more often, they're going to want to make sure that they address some of those concerns if they find that the audio.
I do have a few questions.
Yeah, please.
I have a few questions, and I want to encourage anybody to ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, covered a lot of material, so happy to answer some questions here. Okay.
All right. And anybody else that has questions, please raise your hand. Yeah, just. I have questions, but I also want to say I have just started using Teams like a week ago, literally a week ago. I mean, I did as far as downloading it and upgrading my version of 365 to include it. And while the features are immense, you know, even if I never look at anything, I think it's incredible how easy it is to just click a button to set a meeting, and you're sending out emails to who you want to participate in the meeting, and that's it. Yeah. And just at the time of that meeting, it just happens. And so I'm just amazed about how simple it is to engage in that. And I can see so many really important applications to serving the clientele that we do. And I was thinking about the application to estate planning, for example, especially in Arizona, where you may have a client who let's say they're interested in doing a living trust. And they have, 2 or 3 kids. And you want to have a meet, and they're all around the United States, and you want to have a meeting with the client, and the 2 or 3 kids are around the United States. Simple. You send emails to everybody, and you schedule that meeting. I mean, it's just a simple process, and that can really go a long way with making sure that you're getting the information that you need to get for the client, making sure that the people that really should be involved are involved. And we for those of us that do estate planning or have done estate planning in the past, every once in a while you'll have an issue with getting incomplete information because a key person was not involved with it. But that's applicable to really anything. Just yeah, just my observation. I think it's a great tool for any area, whether it be estate planning, family court, civil cases, if you're into business services, collaborating in preparing an operating agreement or a contract or whatever the case may be.
And you can share and collaborate on that same document online. You can edit it while you're both online together. It gets much more tricky when you've got as many participants as we have here. Obviously you're not going to be, annotating documents with this kind of a group. This is a different type of a format, probably better for a live meeting than what we've got going here. But there is so many feature functions. I would have to just call myself a user, maybe a slight power user of it, but I am not. We've got sales engineers and architects that know how to all the feature functions. Their job is to be experts in using the product completely. And when we onboard people, we spend a lot of time trying to get them oriented and getting them up and functional. So, if you want to share documents, this is a great tool to do that. It's more than just video conferencing, though. I think what you've seen with some of the other consumer applications is they're just really easy and very, very simple. And some people have chosen to have a separate video application, but they're still using some of the other collaboration tools that Microsoft has because they're already bundled together. So when you start looking at costs, the Zoom is built into most of your business plans. I'm happy to answer questions about pricing and the different plans available to small businesses as well. Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions for Joe? All right. Well, I thank you, Joe, for coming in and teaching us about teams and what's going on in that industry. And I encourage anybody that has some questions for Joe. Joe, do you want to leave your email or phone number or anything like that? I'll put it in the chat. Okay. All right. That sounds great. All right. All right. Well, then we will then move on and for the rest of the presentation, we're going to 11 o'clock. And thank you, Joe. And so let me get my presentation back on board here. Introduce the first word of the day. We're going to have two words that you want to pay attention to. And so let me see if I can put this. It's invisible. So I'm just going to call it out. The first word of the day. Is this because I have a background that's not showing?
You can quit sharing.
What's that?
You can stop sharing.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's all right. How do I quit sharing? So the little share button in the middle of your screen, just click that. The up arrow. Okay, well, it's no big deal. I'll just say what the word is. The word for everybody is clip. The word is clip, C-L-I-P, clip. It's okay. All right, I'll just move on. Put it in the chat for you. Oh, okay. Okay, so the word is in the chat. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to move on to the next part of the presentation. Let me scroll down. The next part of the presentation, I start talking about dealing with the court. And let me get this back up here. Okay. Try it again. It's not uploading the presentation. It's not showing on me. Okay. Sorry about that. We're getting there.
What slide is it, Don? You remember the number? There it is.
Okay. All right, and then I wanted to get this on screen. What's that? Okay. All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so we'll start with dealing with the court. All right, so in dealing with the court, everybody knows there have been some changes, that the court has made, or at least temporary efforts to deal with the COVID-19 situation. And if you're interested in, if you don't already know, but there are several Supreme Court administrative orders. And I've listed the first few, the Administrative Order 2020-48, 60, 70, and then the most recent one is 75. And these address the measures to be taken by the judicial branch to conduct business in a manner that reduces the risk associated with COVID-19, the public health emergency. So, in other words, the court has been doing what we're talking about doing in our businesses now that we're reopening. And I want to go over the, if I can, I want to go over the main most recent administration, which is 2020-75, and just to kind of give everybody a feel for where the court is at. This is an ever-changing situation, it seems. This administrative order, while lengthy, really gives you an idea about where everything is at. And so I'm not going to go through every aspect of it because it's many pages, but I'll hit the highlights. And so one of the highlights is that the order still in effect is that all Arizona courts and the office of the presiding disciplinary judge may begin transferring, or transitioning, I should say, to in-person proceedings on June 1st, 2020, to the extent that it can be safely accomplished. So, as most of you probably know right now, in previous administrative orders, basically the court was closed down. Some of the courts were closed down to anybody going to the court. There were some exceptions, mostly dealing with criminal-related cases, exceptions related to getting orders of protection, requesting hearings on orders of protection. But all in all, the courthouse was really pretty much closed down to people coming in there and filing various things in person. So the order, this administration and protect the courthouse safety, has several rulings in effect. So right now, the presiding judge of the Superior Court of each county and the chief judge of each division is authorized to adopt and suspend any local rule or order needed to address the public health crisis. And the court has several phases that they're entering into, but right now, well, I'll just keep going through some of the important provisions that you may want to know about. So, so for now, judicial leadership should limit any required in-person proceeding to attorneys, parties, victims, witnesses, jurors, if applicable, court personnel, and other necessary persons where necessary in order to maintain the recommended social distancing within the courthouse, including each courtroom. Judges are supposed to liberally grant continuances and accommodations if necessary to the parties, attorneys, victims, witnesses, and so on. Let's see, the administrative office of the court should provide leadership with a health screening protocol used to detect COVID-19 related symptoms. So not later than June 1st, court staff and all judicial officers should wear their own or court-provided masks, face coverings, or face shields when having any in-person contact with other personnel. So you're going to see that when you're dealing with the court. A big push, and I guess you could say if there's anything kind of positive that comes out of this, and it's connected with the presentation that we just have, is the push towards using technology to minimize the in-person proceedings. So, so currently, the court has several phases that they're going through to return to whatever the new normal is going to be. And during phases 1 and 2, again, judicial leadership should limit in-person contact as much as possible by using available technology.
I'm sorry to interrupt you just for a second. We're only seeing slide 12 right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just going through the other one is a long document that I am going to send to everybody, but it's a long document that I wasn't posting. So yeah, if you'll bear with me, I'm just kind of going through these different sections, but I will be sending this document to everybody. So what does that mean basically to everybody? And maybe I'll just kind of skip to the different phases. So we're currently in phase 0, which is the current phase. And the way this order describes it, it says, due to the statewide public health emergency, all in-person court proceedings should be avoided to the greatest extent possible, consistent with constitutional rights. So the court should follow the CDC social distancing guidelines, limit the number of persons at any court event to 10. Judicial leadership can authorize groups larger than 10, but not to exceed 30, depending on the circumstances. I don't know how that would happen, but impaneling juries is suspended. I think through there's a note I have at some place that I'll get to that. I want to say it's at least until June 1st. In-person contact is limited through the use of virtual hearings, electronic recordings of a court proceeding, and electronic transmission of documents. So the court for phase 1, so we're in phase 0. So phase 1 begins June 1st, and that's when the court can begin transitioning to in-person proceedings to the extent that it's can be safely accomplished. And so what that's going to mean is probably going to vary depending on the individual department. So if you go on the court website and you're looking and you go to each department, every department, whether it be family, civil, juvenile, criminal, they all have their own page of how they're dealing with what differences there are during this the COVID-19 concerns while that's going on. And they all have little videos that you can watch. And so I'd encourage you, if you deal with a particular department, to go in and look at that. But I'm going to go over a couple of them, of the, namely the family court and the civil court, and touch on some of the highlights that they have. So this is a memo and a posting that the family court put up, and has revised, but the original date was April 3rd. And I think some of it's been revised from then. But basically, right now, the court operations remain for the court operations primarily addresses essential services, and essential services for family court are the following: applications for orders of protection, contested hearings of order protection, motions for temporary emergency orders, so legal decision making and parenting time related emergency orders, hearings on temporary emergency orders. So those are considered to be essential services of family court. Also, since this order went into effect, all those essential services are conducted only through the downtown court. So you couldn't go to the East Court building, the Northwest Court building. I don't think you'd go to Surprise to address those essential services. And the law library, the Legal Resource Center Law Library, is their services were restricted to dealing with those things as well. So yeah, one of the next note is that no in-person services or proceedings are conducted at Northeast, Northwest, or Southeast. And the family court services, so conciliation services, early resolution conferences, mediations, child interviews, parenting conferences, all those services were suspended until further court notice. Now, for those of you that practice in family court, I'll tell you that those services have started up again. Last week and this week, the court rescheduled some of the cases that were canceled in April, and they've been like mediations, and I imagine the resolution conferences as well. They've rescheduled those as telephonic conferences, and going forward, my understanding is that the court will start to schedule new conferences, although they will be, for the foreseeable future, they'll be telephonic. And as some of you may know, I work as a court conciliator, and I should clarify, I'm not here speaking on behalf of the court or in any way, shape, or form. This is just for AAIP and for educational purposes. But I'll tell you, if you have clients that are looking to do mediations or other conciliation services, I think those are going to be starting to be scheduled again. With the only exception being, I'm not sure what they're going to be doing regarding child interviews, because child interviews are kind of a different situation, and where I don't know how that can be done telephonically. I mean, I'm sure there's ways it can be done, but I don't think that's been figured out yet. But you know, the mediation, telephonic mediations, in my opinion, while I would, as a conciliator, I would prefer to meet with people in person. I think telephonic mediations go perfectly fine. And in some ways, it may be a better situation than meeting in person, depending on the people that are going through it. But anyways, those services are starting up again. I just kind of finished going through this outline. The pre-decree cases that involve children, parents are required to complete typically required to complete the parent information program. At this time, your clients can complete those online. There's a service online or a video online. I think there's a couple of them. There are no in-person classes that are being conducted right now. Same goes for the high conflict resolution classes. If you have any people that are assigned to those now, those are not scheduled right now. Although I think that's going to be changed soon. But usually those classes have, well, they always have more than 10 people in them. So I'm not sure how they're going to have a pretty big room before they start offering those. And there are no online classes that you can take in place of the in-person ones. So those are not being done right now, and so I would keep an eye out for when those start up, because usually those are ordered by the court to be completed within a certain time frame. So, those are really the highlights of the family court individual posting that I found. There's one on civil, and it says what you would imagine: oral arguments, evidentiary hearings, other civil proceedings should, whenever possible, they should be done using audio or video platforms. There's no in-person appearance permitted in a civil case right now. I imagine that will be changing quickly, but that's what the current posting states. No juries are impaneled through June 1st, 2020. Let's see what else is. Those are kind of the prime things I wanted to point out. But again, everything is starting to reopen, and I imagine, sometime, by the end of July, we're going to be a lot closer to to whatever the new norm is going to be. I looked up some other courts, Pinal County, for example, similar type of situation. There's a link on, again, I'll send this to everybody, but there's a link that you can go to that has a page of all their COVID-related information. But it's pretty much the same thing. They do have a screening process to enter the courthouse, where if you kind of similar to the questions that I went over when I went to the dentist, those kind of things. They have a screening process, and if you can't answer no to all those things, then you can't go in. Let's see, justice courts. The justice court website, that's a link to it right there. Same kind of information. Jury trials are postponed until after June 1st. If you have a COVID diagnosis or exposure, dealing with evictions, there's a notation on the Justice Court website that a COVID-19 diagnosis or exposure may prevent an eviction judgment from being enforced. So if you deal with forcible detainer actions, this is something you may want to look into a little bit more. That doesn't mean you can't file it. And most of the things, the standard petitions that are filed, like evictions, lawsuits, garnishments, you can still file them, but they're filed via email, and you can go on the website to see how you go about doing that. Let's see. That's all right. Doing business with the recorder. With the Maricopa County Recorder still has a notation that they're not allowing people to physically come there to record things. Anybody can mail in a recording. There's the address on the screen on where you can mail those recordings. They're estimating don't know what that echo was, but they're estimating it takes 4 to 5 weeks before a document is going to be mailed back to a consumer or to you. There's no address on the screen. So are you all seeing my seeing the PowerPoint?
No.
No. Okay. Let me see if I can get that up again. Okay. So it looks like we're kind of back at the beginning. Can you see it now, everybody?
Not yet, Don.
No? Okay.
It's trying to render, but I don't know if you have a bandwidth issue maybe. Don, did we lose you? There it comes. See you now.
Okay, you can see it now?
No, we see you. The other screen, the other computer, still frozen.
Okay, can you see me now? Can you see the screen now? Okay. How can I see myself on here? No? Okay. Okay. Sorry about the holdup, everybody. We'll get back into it. Okay, so, all right. So I was talking about being able to record things at the county recorder's office. And does everybody see, if somebody could let me know, can you see the address now? It's 111 South 3rd Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona, 85003. According to the recorder website, the Maricopa County Core website, it takes about 4 or 5 weeks before the document's mailed back. It could take about 2 weeks before you can find it on the website. Some of you who do a lot of recording may be using third-party e-recording services. That's something that's referenced on the website as well. Next, I want to, we have, in dealing with the Secretary of State's office, well, again, just like the other government entities, all in-person services are suspended. They do have online services. You can, you register a trade name or trademarks. You can do, if you're needing to renew or apply to be a notary, you can do that online. You can deal with partnership issues. You have online fillable UCC forms. So a lot of the Secretary of State services, which I imagine many of you just use the online services anyway, that's all still available, but you cannot go there. And then finally, with the Secretary of State, and this is I think new and exciting, is that because of what's gone on with the COVID situation, The governor, the Secretary of State expedited the approval and the signing of the new law that allows for remote or e-notaries. And I have a link there that goes to that. Some important information that you should know would be that in order to apply, you have to be a current active Arizona Notary Public. You've got to, they require that you review the applicable administrative rules that are all new before applying. You've got to have a vendor that provides the technology that you're going to use, and the online system. They have a list of all the vendors that are many vendors that you can use for such things. And your application has to provide a description of the technology that you're going to use, and you have to provide the name and website URL of the vendor that will supply the technologies that you use. But it's a pretty simple procedure from what I see. I'm not sure how quickly they're getting around to approving them. May I ask, have any of you already applied to become a remote or e-notary? I believe I spoke to Mike Angel and Elizabeth Angel, and with Legal Resource Center, and I think one or both of them have applied. Anybody have any comments on the experience of applying, how quickly that happens, or any hangups? Just go ahead and turn on your mic and chime in if you. No? Okay. All right. So we're at a point where.
A question.
Yes.
Don, where do you go to be an e-notary? Where would I go to do that?
You would go and it'll be a link on the PowerPoint that I send in, but you go to the Secretary of State's office, you go to their website and get all the information that you need to apply.
Okay, so if I'm already a notary, is it just I have to reapply to be an e-notary, or can they automatically do that, or what? Yeah,
you do. There's that's the process I've kind of just gone over, where you can go online and get all the information right off the website. I was wondering if anybody has any experience with it so far, if that they'd be willing to share. Go ahead and chime in and please share that. Had a couple people raise their hand. Okay. Okay, I have a question for Valerie. Can you please review how to apply as an e-notary? Okay, so I can go through that real quickly again. Let's see, let me go back to this. So again, you can go on the URL site is again, it's on AZCLDP.gov /business/notary/e-notary. And again, the basic information I have about it is you have to be a current active notary public. They have a link to all the new applicable administrative rules, which you're required to review before applying. And then you also have to have a vendor that you're going to use that provides the technology that you'll need to perform your electronic or remote notarizations. And there's a list of several options of vendors that you can use. And then they have the application that you can download. The application, among other things, you have to provide a description of who the vendor is and what technology you're going to be using to go ahead and do that. Let's see. Did that all make sense? All right. See if there's any other questions. Okay. All right. So, in this, I guess we've got about 10 minutes left that we're going to fill going through some of these things. But just to kind of wrap up, I would like to see or hear if any of you have any experience with using video conferencing in dealing with clients. Would love to hear some feedback from that. I think Suzette, when I talked to you the other day, you had mentioned that's something that you were doing. I'm pretty sure it was you that I talked to. Anybody else want to raise your hand and chime in and give us some information or experience?
Hey, Donnie, somebody asked the question, is the bankruptcy court open?
Is the bankruptcy court open? I don't believe so. Pat, if you're listening, can you chime in and give us any information about the bankruptcy court?
Pat was the one that asked it. Pat Stewart.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, to my knowledge, the bankruptcy court is not open. I understand that you can go and do drop-offs, and I think the PEMA court, you can do drop-offs. Let's see.
There's some comments coming in there.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. Yeah, Chris Hoyt commented that PEMA just does drop-offs for filings. Hearings are done telephonically. Talking about I just want to make sure you're talking. Court in Phoenix has a drop box where you would drop those from Valerie about whether going over renewal of our doc prep licenses since the dates have changed. I'm assuming that you're talking, so we don't have renewal this year, as you know. We'll have renewal next year. And I don't know, I'm not aware of any differences in, I don't know why there would be any differences in the application next year. Granted, the date to finish your CE credits were extended for this year. Not sure if that's going to apply for the following year, so we'll have to find out. And I'm sure in a future webinar when we do our new seminars in January, February, March, and April next year, we'll probably have more information about that. But I imagine that it's going to be, it should, I don't know why it would be different than anything else. Let's see. What's the extension date for the CE credit? And it's just jumped right out of my head. I know it's in June. I want to say June 15th or June 30th. Anybody have that information? Please put it into the chat. June 30th. Okay. Yeah, I believe that's correct. So it's extended to June 30th. All right. Okay. So does anybody have any other questions about doing work or working with the courts, working with the Secretary of State, the county recorder? I'm wondering, for any of you that are in counties other than Maricopa County, do you have any other experience with the recorder's office or the courts being more open than in Maricopa County? No, Valerie. Okay. Okay. So anyway, so my understanding is that they're pretty much the same situation. So all right. So just to let me wrap things up. I think we've just got a couple. We've got a couple other things. Or a couple of other minutes that we need to fill here. But any other comments or questions? And I appreciate, I see some thank yous for putting on the webinars. I just want to make sure we do the full 2 hours. So we've got 4 minutes. I talked about how, at least in the family court, how we're kind of gearing up again to provide conciliation services. Again, the only service I think that we're not sure how quickly we're going to get back into would be child interviews. But the other conciliations, mediations, and whether they be all of those are going to become available very soon. I imagine after June 1st, if not already, as far as being able to schedule something. Does anybody have any other experience with filing in particular in Pima County? Anybody out there in Pima County? Okay. All right. I guess I'll say that this pretty much wraps up our continuing education seminars for 2020. Not sure if any of you have any needs as far as more continuing legal education. That's something that I certainly would entertain, putting together another substantive training on a particular topic, whether it be family court, civil court, or something else. So if any of you, if there's a significant number of people that still need additional hours and would like to do something like that, please send me an email, and that's probably something that we could figure out. We have one message. Valerie says you have written a short document to your clients on security issues with Zoom, and she's going to share that with me, and let me know when you send that whether or not I can share that with other people, with other document preparers. But again, if anybody has any other educational needs, last week we did estate planning. In March, we did a more 5-hour webinar, which went fantastic. But there are certainly some topics that we could get into. We could do 1, 2, 3 hour seminars before the end of June. Okay. Any other questions, comments? All right, well, I appreciate everybody participating. Hope everybody has a great Saturday, and Saturday afternoon, and we will keep everybody apprised. So I guess one last thing I can comment on is that I have not seen any further movement on the new proposed tier of legal professional. As many of you know, that was put up for public comment. The public comment is over, and so I imagine that's going to move on to some other phase of consideration with the Supreme Court, with whatever subcommittees that it goes to from there. And I'll try to keep everybody updated through the website or maybe just emails about what's going on with that, and if anybody is interested in applying for it. Should it be ultimately passed, which I imagine that it will be. Okay, well,
Hey, John.
Yes.
You forgot the second word of the day, and then Suzanne Brown has a question. Suzanne.
Okay. I will take Suzanne Brown's question first.
It's Suzette, and that was my
Suzette.
Or Suzette, I'm sorry.
That was
the question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the second word of the day is going to be plain. Plain. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. And thank you for your patience. Again, we're still learning how to use this technology in our presentations, and it's just different. But we'll get better every time. So Thank you for everybody for supporting AAIP. Please send me your emails with the 2 words, and I will promptly.
Don.
All right. Somebody have a question? All right, I have a question. Somebody's asking what kind of plane. I have PLANE. But I think either one would suffice. I'll know you're close enough. Yes, like an airplane. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to sign off now. That will end the seminar or the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Great seminar.
Thank you.